This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to the Great Love Debate, the world's number one dating and relationship podcast. Since 2015, I am back here in the very fine studios of Pod Populi, Podcast for the People. I am at the one in Scottsdale, Arizona. It remains surface of the sun hot. Hopefully that will change soon because Scottsdale's lovely. So we've done a lot of podcasts pretty recently talking about, in order to find love, you have to define it, and you got to start by coming up with sort of a personal definition of what that is. And we kick that around a lot. But what I've been asking people recently, and I actually put out a sort of an APB to you guys, I want to know in your brain, in your head, in your dreams, whatever, what does it look like? And so I asked you guys about 3 weeks ago, I go, submit to us, what does it look like? What does a perfect relationship in your mind look like? And a bunch of you answered with relationships that you have had, meaning this is what it looked like, and whatever happened in that relationship, so be it. That for a moment in time, you at least got to taste it, so to speak. And then a bunch of you sent things like, here's what it looks like in my fantasy, and if that's achievable or not. So I wanted to bring in somebody who has been on this podcast three times. You're familiar with her story. Her story continues. She's the host of the Switching Teams podcast. Wow. She sort of found love in a way that she did not know what it would look like.
That's correct.
Back in the day, the always lovely Sarah Held. How are you?
Brian, I'm great. How are you?
Good. So give a quick one sentence recap of what love looked like and what the Great Love Debate has to do with that.
Well, love looked like I was looking for a gentleman that played golf.
Yes.
I found a female who does not play golf, all because of your podcast, because you made me do Russian roulette on Bumble.
Yeah. I go scroll through the guys and start dating somebody, then come on the podcast and talk about it. So she scrolled, no guys. And she's
Ran out of guys.
Let me see what's over on this side of the fence. And here we are.
Same girl?
So what it looked like in your head prior to that. So that's why I always say, caveat emptor on what you imagine it looked like. But some of these that you guys sent us were really, I think they're achievable. Some of them are really sweet. Some of them, as always, because you guys are the Great Love Debate listeners, completely fucked up. But we got a really nice batch. So I'm going to read some of the things that you guys sent in, and me and Sarah are going to sort of give our take on what does it look like to you guys and think if this is something achievable or not. Does that make sense?
I love this.
Okay.
I'm stoked.
So the first one is from Jeremy, and he sent it in via our Facebook page. What's it look like? I said to her, do you want to go to the AK Mountains with abbreviation, AK Mountains with me? And she said, sure. She thought I meant Arkansas, the Ozarks, not that far because we're in Missouri, but I meant Alaska. When I pointed it out, she laughed and I booked the tickets and we went. Best trip ever. She rolled with it. We laughed. We had an adventure. That's what it looks like to me. Anything goes, up for everything, no rules. We didn't stay together past that. She had a job that transferred her to Charlotte. But to me, that's what it looks like, that trip. I love that.
I do too.
It means that he can find that, again, like a moment where he's just like, take my hand, let's go. And I like the misinterpretation. AK is not Arkansas. AK is Alaska. But she was willing to go to Arkansas. And then when he changed, he's like, yeah, I'll go. And they just dove in the pool and they went for it. And the fact that it didn't work out, he still has this sort of thought bubble in his head of, I want to chase that again.
Can I be the devil's advocate, though?
Sure.
Is he setting himself up for failure at this point? Because
I don't think that's hard to find that. Do you?
Yeah.
You think it's hard to be like, to find
a spontaneous, especially as you get older? Yeah.
Probably as you get older, it is, but I think that's what makes it special. I dated a girl once. I met her like in a bar, and she's like, "I gotta go home. I gotta go to bed. I'm driving across the country tomorrow." And she's like, "I'm like, oh, I'd do that with you." And she's like, "Really? Let's go."
And you did?
Yeah, we drove. I made it about as far as Pittsburgh, and I'm like, actually, I have to work. I had to go back and flew back. But when she came back, we started dating, because the sense of adventure. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know you. I'm like, let's go. She didn't think I was a psycho. and we talked and we shared an experience and we just went for it. I think, it doesn't sound like he's really pining over her. He could have moved to Charlotte and chased her down. But the experience in his head, I think he's like, oh, this is what this is supposed to feel like, that. Something that like he had it maybe for a weekend, but if I can sustain this sense of like excitement and adventure, I think that's a good thing to keep in your head.
But what if you meet a girl and she doesn't have that, but only because she doesn't know any better and has never experienced it, and then you help her experience it, and all of a sudden you turn her into that, and then it's...
Are you speaking from personal lesbian experience?
I mean, possibly.
Sort of. Yeah, I know. She couldn't be that, and she was resistant. But the fact that she was up for it, like she had something in her head, like, oh, okay, I'll go from Missouri over to Arkansas, not that far. And then he's like, no, it's actually this. And she's like, I'm still into this. I like that, and that's what it looks like in his head. I think that's good. I think that the fact that he's carrying around, like for a moment, that's what could feel like. And again, it could be 100 different things what it feels like, but he's not jaded by the experience that didn't work out.
I love that. I love that part.
I like that too. The lack of jading is good. All right, here's the next one. Brian. This says can't give my name, but I'm near New Haven, Connecticut. Okay. Brian, I have often heard you say that a big problem with married couples losing the spark is they lose the spark in a lot of other things once they go from husband and wife to mom and dad. That happened to us, so I don't want to give my name, but I will tell you what it looks like. The first night we took our daughter home. It was the three of us, truly bonded, one family, one goal, one agenda. I'm not sure it had ever been that perfect before that night, and the very next night we switched to taking shifts, keeping up all night, feeding her, changing her, and it's been pretty much separate ever since. So for me, what it looks like is that night, that first night. Been chasing it ever since.
I love this topic.
What part of it? That's sad. It's sweet, but it's super sad.
I love this topic
too. I can't believe how many married couples live in separate bedrooms, separate lives, separate, like they do go from husband, wife to mom and dad. And a lot of you guys listen to this show. I get that. So that her perfect night was the three of them, first night home from the hospital, like that. And then it's all downhill after that?
No, it's cyclical. A marriage will go... So you're in this weird phase right now, right? But don't forget, your love is what created that baby, that child. So you can never forget that. You're just in this phase. Like those butterflies went away. All the fun things went away because now you're taking care of a little human.
Muck. Yeah.
You got to get through the muck. And think of it. It might be 18 years. And I know that sounds horrible, but you committed.
Correct. It's really tough after 18 years for them to circle back and go like, hey, you want to go to a movie? You got to figure it out. I agree. If you know, see, that's where the dialogue comes into play. Like you guys are in this storm together of raising children, and that could be 18 years. It could be 25 years, depending on how many kids you have. And you got to know it, but you have to recognize at your core of what created this baby or these babies was the husband and wife part.
Right.
And that's why it's so important in any relationship to remember, like, this is what it was. And so if she had spoken to him about this, like, I love the feeling that night, like, I appreciate you writing to us, but have you said this to him? Like, that feeling that night was the most special night I have ever had, and that's what it looked like to us? Like, I think...
Well, he's probably feeling like he doesn't matter because she's paying most of the attention to the kids and da-da-da-da-da, and he's not getting attention. But at the end of the day, like, even if they didn't have a kid, if he got divorced today, went and found another girlfriend, within 3 years, he would go through the same thing with a new girl, even if they didn't have kids.
Probably, but the interesting is the fact that we don't have kids.
No.
Neither together nor apart.
Correct.
And we both can kind of imagine, I get what that must have felt like. Like, I was so well described. I'm like, I can see why that mattered, and that does seem important, and that does seem special, and I could see why that would resonate. That probably should sustain them for a while, that I know we're capable of feeling this way. That's what it looked like. That's what it can look like again. It's tough when you're at soccer practice and storm or whatever, but knowing that we had that, try and get back to that.
Or maybe once a week for an hour, sit down and connect somehow.
Yeah, and just think about that. Talk about that. Like, if we felt something, jaded people like we are, do that, like, I'm sure the husband would see that too. So I liked that. Okay, next one. Talk about fucked up. Here's the next one. What's it look like? Margot Robbie. I heard the episode you did about Barbie and I agreed with it, but you left out a big controversy. There are people who think she's not that hot. She's perfect. Isn't that why she's Barbie? Ever since Wolf of Wall Street, I have thought, this is what I want. This is what it looks like to me. Someone who looks like her, or actually her. Can you hook that up? Ken in Orlando. Are you familiar with this controversy that people, I believe the word is mid, that the kids are saying, that people are like, yeah, Margot Robbie's not that hot and Ryan Gosling's old. And like the criticism of it is physically those two. Can you imagine?
I mean, I did not see Barbie. I will say
you're familiar with Margot Robbie?
Somewhat agree with that statement.
That she's not that hot?
I feel like neither one of them were the best people for the role.
Well, I think the people that they've been kicking around for that role, they had like Amy Schumer was going to play it, and they had like a bunch
Amy Schumer?
Yeah, I think they're going to do like the anti, like this is what Barbie's really like. But so you think that what, she's too old, too unattractive, too what?
I didn't think she's not perfect enough. Like Barbie's perfect.
So who do you got in mind?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean,
nobody's perfect.
Well, no, I'm talking just looks.
Yeah, Margot Robbie is attractive. No, we had some guys in this podcast studio the other day, and they were arguing like she's a poor man's Jamie Presley. Remember Jamie Presley from back in the day? And they do look a little alike, but I'm like, Margot Robbie is lovely. But there's a whole thing out there trying to take her down, like out of character, like she's not perfect enough. And there's, you haven't seen the movie. There's a moment in the movie where they reference Margot Robbie, but she's. I mean,
Scarlett Johansson's hotter than her.
You think?
I do.
I know, but you're also now a lesbian.
Yeah.
So you look at different
things.
And
so I am actually more justified in this statement.
I'm trying to think of who else. Like, what's Wonder Woman's name? She's not a blonde, but she's very attractive, right?
Yeah.
Gail Gadot. What about that's so funny. He's like, can you hook that up? My mother used to call me back when she used to watch Regis back in the day. Regis and Kathy Lee. And she'd be like, Charlize, somebody who's on there. You're in Hollywood. Why don't you date her?
Charlize is hot.
You
like, should have dated her. Did you?
I did not. Probably wasn't able, but she would just think like, oh, you must know somebody who knows her. Why don't you date her?
I don't know who that is, but she would have fit the bill too.
I believe that is literally Margot Robbie.
Oh, that's hilarious. I think you're right. Well, she looks a lot better there.
Well,
I don't think they made her
styling. They had to make her look somewhat plasticky. Yeah, that's funny. You picked up somebody on the internet. Like, what about her? That's her.
That's her.
Yeah.
Okay, but I need Jeremy to.
Mean, she also had to play Tanya Harding, who's not that cute, and so she's an actress. But I'm like, what are you going to do? This is sort of a girl on girl crime thing. Like Ken clearly thinks she's hot. Mostly women are attacking Margot Robbie. Poor Margot Robbie. I mean, I don't think she's available. I think she's married and has a kid and probably having the moment that the one before
she's making a lot of money right now.
And she'll be just fine. Yeah. I don't think so, Ken, but I didn't bring it up at the time because at the time I didn't know it was a thing. And since I did that episode and since I've seen the movie, yeah, people really are like personally picking apart like she has a pig nose and she's like, people are fucking worst. You all suck. You'd be lucky to look like Margot Robbie and you'd be lucky to date Margot Robbie, Ken in Orlando. So I appreciate it. This is what it looks like is the theme here. I'm here with Sarah Held, host of Switching Teams. I got to take a quick break so we can send money to Ken so he can ask out Margot Robbie. And we will be back right after this. And we are back. And we're talking about what does it look like? What does the dream scenario look like? All right, next one. What would it look like is what she said. This is from Kimber via our Facebook page. What would it look like? Brian, I think you said it first and probably said it best. Of course. Good listener.
Oh, come on.
Brian, I think you said it first and probably said it best. Stand in front of her when she needs you to protect. Stand beside her when she needs you to love, and stand behind her when she needs you to believe. When I first heard you say that a few years ago, I never heard it put that way before. It's absolutely perfect. Give me those three things, and I can't think of anything else I would want it to look like. I mean, hope he's cute too, but basically I want to know that and I want to feel that. That's what it looks like to me.
You have such profound, like, little sayings.
Little bon mots. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. Well, I remember I wrote that a long time ago, and I stand by it. Like, those are the three things. Do you need me to repeat them for you?
I actually would like you to.
Stand in front of her when she needs you to protect. Stand beside her when she needs you to love. And stand behind her when she needs you to believe.
I love it.
And so for Kimber, and I appreciate you remembering and appreciating that I said that, she's like, this is a feeling where he's got me from all angles. And to her, and I don't think if she doesn't necessarily she's had that, but she's like, that makes sense to me. And cute, of course. You should throw that in.
Kimber, don't give up, because I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I think you should look for that. And this is mostly for the guys. When I say this wasn't even like about the girls, like,
Right.
they're fine. This is about the guys. Like, you take care of those three elements in your relationship or with your woman. And not only does it buy you a lot of wiggle room if you leave your socks on the floor, but it really does say, I am with you. I support you. We are together in this journey. And I could see how that's what it looks like.
I love it. And Kimber, if you don't find it on that side, try switching teams, because you might find it on the other side.
That's true. Open up your options. That's what I say. You know, as we've said, and we probably said it when you were on the podcast, the answers almost always lie outside of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And so if you get out of your comfort zone and you look at things from a different perspective and find those, you get a much better shot. A lot of times, what does it look like? People can't see it because they're so tunnel vision on, I want this, 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 and this. And they don't know what it looks like, you know? But I do like that. And I do appreciate that. Okay, next one. Here is what it looks like. She has friends that aren't so annoying. She has family that isn't around all the time. She wants to spend time with me and her, just me and her, most of the time. Not all of the time, but it needs to be a priority. Yes, I am signing up for her world, but I want to be a big part of that world, not a small island in the Pacific. How come every girl I date comes with a posse the size of Beyonce? What happened to one-on-one? That's how you judge a relationship. What does it look like together? That's from Miserable Martin.
Well, no wonder he's miserable, Martin.
I could see that. I mean, part of me, there are a lot of people who, when you date them, 80% of the time you're with, 50 cousins and 6 girlfriends, and there isn't a lot of that. And some people are just like, this is what I like, and this is my comfort zone. I want everybody around. That is a tough nut to crack.
But can I tell you, my girlfriend is actually more like that, more like Miserable Martin.
I'm more like Miserable Martin, yeah.
And I have a very big posse.
Yeah.
So it's been, I think, a little adjustment. And you know what I've learned? I sit back and go, because I want her at everything.
Right.
Because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But I've sat back and went, it doesn't matter. She's her. I'm me. We can still be together and be different people.
You can, but see, so years and years ago, I dated this girl who had these like 8 friends from college. And they were well out of college at this point. And they were only the 8 of them. They did every single thing together. Nobody ever cracked this 8 or whatever. So I come in as like the boyfriend. I don't know the history they have. I don't have the story. There was no point where she was always like, I'm trying to include you. There was no point where I wasn't an outsider. They just had too much common history. It was like if somebody cracked The Big Chill. Remember The Big Chill, that movie? Is that old enough? No. Don't act like
I'm too
you're
young.
You're not. And it was just like, no matter how comfortable they tried to make me feel, it was just too much. It was like the 8 of them had been dating for 15 years, essentially. And I was always the 16th wheel.
But you would have been fine staying home.
No, yeah, I did a lot, but I'm staying home. Like I'm in this relationship with somebody who has another thing going on with 8 people. And I didn't like, I'm like, every Friday night she's like, let me see what they're all doing. And I'm like, why? Why do we have to do this?
This sounds like
and it
my
was
girlfriend.
really a problem because I couldn't balance it out. I wasn't like, oh, let's come hang out with my friends as revenge or whatever. I just didn't have that group. And so it was a challenge. Or, sometimes I've been in a situation where, because I'm not, as great love listeners know well, I have no relationship with my family, really. And so you're in a relationship with somebody who is very close to their whole family, and that kind of tips the dynamic too. That's an awkward situation where you're always going to hers, and it's like, what about yours? I'm like, they're not that fun. They're terrible people.
This is my scenario, but I do think you have to meet in the middle. Like I feel like there's
and what is the middle? Yeah, it should be like every third time you're with them, or what is the majority? I think the majority has to be the 2 of you. No, the majority.
Yeah. Yes.
And he's probably overestimating. Like, you probably do spend a lot of time together. It's maybe the overt activities, the Friday nights, the parties,
Right.
the concerts are with your friends. But if you're most of the time, I can't imagine they're having breakfast with you guys every day, or they're sharing the bed.
And by the way, do you really, I don't know, to be with one person every single day, day in and day out for 100 years, it'd be like, go away.
That's what it looks like to me.
Really?
Yeah. I'd love that.
Wow.
That's why I think there's so many layers to your relationship, and there's so much curiosity and things you can find out about them. Yet, no, that's what it looks like to me. I'm okay with that. I don't think you ever get tired of your partner.
I love that.
But maybe my partner would say that about me. I don't know. But I just think, like, I brought up at the beginning, I've said on this podcast before you find love, I think you have to define it, because love can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And to me, my definition that I came up with that works for me is there's nothing I'm doing that I wouldn't rather be doing with her. Doesn't mean I have to do it with her. It means I'd rather do it with her. That works for me. A lot of people are like, no, but that works for me.
I like that.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
It means if I'm doing something, I want to call her and tell her I want to share that with this person. I don't want to share it with her and her sorority.
No, and that's respectable. Right. You shouldn't have to.
I shouldn't have to, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, we get, the people who get engaged and they're like, oh my God, I got to get on the phone with 100 people, when you're like, can we just spend another hour together?
Like, just give me an hour.
Right. Can we just have one more hour together before it's all this? And, I get that they're sharing the excitement about you, maybe, but they're like, I instantly want to go talk to my girlfriends the second I say yes. I don't know. Maybe I'm needy and possessive and hoarding that way, but this is what it looks like to you and to all these different people. Miserable Martin is a little bit more like me, where he's like, I don't need to date 50 people. I want to date you. I think that's sweet.
That's respectable. I can respect that.
All right, next one. This is from MJ in Atlanta. What does it look like? When he tells me he loves me, it means he loves me. When he tells me I'm beautiful, it means I'm beautiful. When he tells me he understands, it means that he may not understand, but he's trying to understand. He tells me he cares about me, my day, my opinion, my thoughts, my dreams, even my ridiculous thoughts and dreams. When he asks me what I want to do, or maybe he just knows what I want to do, to me it means that he's got me and he gets me. That's everything. That's what it looks like. See, I like that one.
I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's not even as much about the person. It's about the feeling. And so what it looks like to her, and all of these are a feeling that I love that line. I wish I wrote that. To me, it means that he's got me and he gets me. That's good.
But also, if he doesn't, he's willing to.
Yeah, that was another good line. It wasn't perfect. It's like he might not understand me, but he's trying.
Right.
And he cares about me and he wants to do better. That's the thing about guys and girls.
We're just so different.
It's not about just do better and we all should do better. It's that he wants to do better and he wants to try harder. He wants to improve every single day. That's what it looks like to MJ. I think that's a really good characteristic. And I think that's something enviable and admirable to find in a relationship, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
She's looking for that, or she has that. Did she not say?
It doesn't say she has that or if she's had that, but it seems it's a very precise thing. And I think that's good too.
Yeah.
Right? Before you find it's like when I find my man, my partner, could be a woman. Sorry, no offense to anybody. Well, she said he, so check. Could be a she.
Could be, keep your options open.
That like when I have this scenario, these feelings, these questions, these things, I know this is what it looked like. That's a good thing too. You never know what it's going to look like till it hits you in the face. But knowing this feeling that you're trying to get to that isn't like anything else you've ever had, I think that's a good start and a good exercise to sort of do, right?
I agree. I think I wrote in my notes years ago something about like, if somebody says, I like who I am when I'm with you, or something like, I marry that person. And I remember Tanaj said it very early on in our relationship. I go,
she said what?
Something about, I like who I am
when I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something like that. Like somebody who makes you want to be better, not just for them, but for you. Mm-hmm. These are the things that we don't spend enough time on talking about relationships. Like a lot of people are like, oh my God, lust and sparks and all that. It's really, you got to have somebody who really gets into your core and really changes your wiring. And people are like, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. You should you should do that. That should just be the result of it.
Yeah.
The result of this person, this relationship, is that I fundamentally change the way I feel about everything.
In a positive way.
In a positive way. Yeah, you should want to do that. You should be like, oh my God, I never did this before. I never thought this way before. I never felt that. I never went to Alaska before. Like any of these things, if somebody does that for you, it wasn't wrong. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not going to go in and change them. Change them in a way that they're along for the change.
I was that person for years. I'm not changing. This is who I am. Deal with it. And I'm not even bad to deal with.
The one who loves me is going to accept me for who I am. No, they're not. No. You suck.
Right. I think I've changed more for the better in the last year than I ever have.
The old bullshit Marilyn Monroe quote, and so many memes that are Marilyn Monroe quotes were words written for Marilyn Monroe by men. But the one that's like, if you can't handle me at my worst. You don't deserve me at my best. Your worst is terrible. You shouldn't want anybody to handle you.
How about
your worst.
Get your worst better?
How about make your worst a lot closer to your best, and that's better. Like that's a lot of excuse making. Like if you don't want me like this, or this is the way I am, and deal with it. Those people tend to be alone because if that's what it looks like to you, is they're handling me at my shittiest. That's not good.
But you're also wanting someone else to change, but you don't want to change.
Right.
You say, accept me who I am.
So many people come, either do podcasts or come on this podcast and like, it takes two complete people to come together. I'm like, nobody's ever complete. It's a journey. You should both be about 70, 80%. And then the fact that you're together can bring you along that last 20%.
Yes.
Like the relationship should help close the gap. But if you're like, I'm done, I've done all the work, I'm good to go here. Who's going to date me? Nobody's going to date you.
Right.
Because you're not cooked.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I people need to get rid of that notion.
They do. It's
needs
such
to go
it's such a
away.
bad thing. Like go to when I'm completely healthy and none of it. We're always going to be a little fucked up, and we're always learning and we're always trying, and we should always be changing. We should be evolving. We bring this up sometimes on the. Religion comes up on this show that a lot of times, like, you need somebody to equal religion, or you need somebody, as the Christians say, equally yoked, blah, blah, blah. Your journey is your journey, and theirs is theirs. And hopefully you're both moving forward, maybe not at the same pace, maybe not the same things, but if you're both positively moving somewhere, who cares if it's the same?
No. My girlfriend and I are not politically aligned. But
you're
it's
not
okay.
politically aligned? Oh, wow.
But it's okay.
Does it come up?
No,
how often does it come up?
She's not super political. So I'm more political than she is.
Right.
And if it stings her the wrong way, she's just like, I don't really feel like talking about this.
Yeah, and I think you can differ opinion, you could differ politically. I mean, it's really hard to find people who agree, just take the 100 top political subjects and find everybody who's just 100 for 100 on matching. Right. There's always some loopholes in this, like, maybe not. There's certain things that I'm like, somebody doesn't like taxes, might hate guns, and vice versa. And there's a whole lot of things on the spectrum. And so if you're trying in your mind, like, what does it look like? I need somebody who's exactly the same as me. That's a little self-centered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does it look like? What did it look like? And that was the last one of these. And I really like this exercise. You guys sent a lot of good ones. What did it look like before? What does it look like now? And is there anything like you're like, I hope we can do this? I'm not trying to happily ever after you yet. It might be premature. But what is it? Here's what I thought it looked like, and here's what I thought it is. Not in terms of the physicality or the sexuality of it. Like, how are you different, or how is the relationship different from what you thought could be?
Are you asking me or the audience?
I'm asking you.
Oh, it's completely, everything is different from what I thought it would be. I thought it would look like all my other past relationships for whatever reason, because they've all failed.
Drunk
and I don't know
crying.
why I would want that, which is funny because that's, I think, naturally what we do.
Yeah.
No, but this person was so perfect and I felt so good there, but it didn't work. So something wasn't right.
Right.
This relationship has been completely different from the start and challenged me in many ways to be out, like think outside. Like, no, I need you here. I don't want to be there. Oh, okay. Well, maybe you don't have to be there. And then I end up having fun with my friends and it's fine. And I see her when I get home. And
do you ever recognize, I'm not going to say like, this is terribly offensive to my lesbian listeners, like who's the girl in the relationship? Terrible. Probably not the right terminology. But do you see the behavior in a woman that you're like, oh my God, sometimes I acted like that when I was with a man? Do you
Sure.
see, is there a little bit of a mirror that has helped you, been like, I probably behave that way sometimes or vice versa?
Of course. Like, I'm an emotional human being. I can be very emotional, actually. And I've had to put that in check a few times.
You have?
Like, oh, yeah.
Who?
She'll be like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Are you on your period? Is usually the first question.
Do you look back on your past relationships with the fellas and been like, if I had known this then, I probably could have done this? Or is it just like, you know what? I was not ready emotionally or capable to do anything differently.
Yeah, I think at everything, you're at different stages in your life, and I was not ready for that for whatever reason. And I also think that dating a girl, she's actually more understanding with certain things like that versus a guy who's like, you're being emotionally unrational right now.
She can understand that.
Right, because she's a girl, and at moments, she can be emotionally unrational.
See the value in that, ladies? Either get a girl partner or hairdresser who can help you through tough times, or a big gay group of friends.
Right. Right, exactly.
That gay BFF, and he'll help you through that too.
Okay,
or create an environment where your man can be that person.
Right.
And the reason why most of the time he's not, and it's not that he doesn't want to, and it's not that he's not capable, he just doesn't know. He doesn't understand. He doesn't have any idea of what you're thinking or going through or why you're crying randomly in the car.
I think that's what's so important for girls to understand. I think we think he should know automatically what we're feeling and why we want. Doesn't he know I want him to bring me flowers on my birthday? Tell him.
Right.
That's one easy way to not be let down.
Right. And a lot of times he only knows what you don't like because you're very, very clear and very, very loud about saying that. He has no idea what you do like. And a lot of times you have no idea what you do like because you've spent so much time focusing on what you don't, which is why this exercise was good. It made people think about what is the thing that I want other than the guy who didn't want the family? What are the things? And going back to that couple with the baby, that moment, this right here, how do we get back to that? Be a family, be husband, wife, be mom and dad, and sort of wrap that all into our day-to-day lives. I think that has value.
That one makes me sad.
It makes me sad, but they experienced it. I like that she wrote it in. She's like, this was it. And I think if you sat down and remember the way we felt that night?
Oh, it was a girl?
I think the girl wrote that.
Oh, I would have read it as a guy. Either way, I really truly believe
a lot of these could have read either way.
Right. But I believe that a relationship's kind of like this mountain, range. It's so good in the beginning, then it's going to drop down. And that's just what it is. And that's about the time everyone quits right now.
They do. They won't work.
Everyone quits.
Oh, it doesn't feel like the magic in the first 90 days.
Guess what? That's life.
Yeah. You got to get through a lull and you got to fight through that together. And a lot of that is communication and being confident in your communication that the partner and been like, hey, I really liked this. I really like this feeling. We don't have to necessarily have another baby and go back to night one home, but let's talk about why we felt that way.
Right.
I think you can get back there.
I think so too. And I think you be patient because on the other side, I think is the most glorious place to be, at least in my head.
I think you're right. All right. Tell everybody how they can either improve their golf game or find your podcast.
Okay. So you can find it on any of the platforms, Spotify, Apple. It's Switching Teams. And I don't know when you air this, but we have a really good one coming up that is non-golf related. If you are at all...
We keep our podcast fresh. This one drops about 12 hours after we record this. I waste no time.
I love that.
I'm not one of these podcasters who banks them like I recorded them 6 months ago. I want to be current.
Well, I don't either, really.
Yeah.
But
you got to bang them out.
This week we have one on Ozempic, and I know it's the big topic. It's taken over Hollywood and basically everyone in our society.
Thing?
Yeah, it's like controversy.
Does it make people crazy?
So I don't think so, but it sure makes them skinny. So if you're interested on Ozempic, you should listen to this week's episode.
Switching
it's called
Teams. Switching Teams, everybody. Thank you for doing this for the third time, fourth time, something like that.
Thank you, Brian.
As far as us, not just Switching Teams, but the Great Love Debate. Like, share, follow. Please review this podcast. Your reviews still 9 years into this mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem. Shoot us an email, greatlovedebate@gmail.com if you have thoughts, comments, opinions, or feedback on any of these, or if you want to sneak another one under the wire. We're probably going to do this again sometime soon because, as always, at the Great Love Debate, we never stop making love. See you next time.